Hello, it's Daniel back again, and you are listening to Health, Energy, Performance podcast. Today, I'm taking time to recap the year 2024 from the perspective of my clients. You will hear 6 different stories from the clients that lost weight, improved their performance, improved their energy, and this whole podcast was generated with the help of AI. And I fed it with 20 hours of my conversations with these different clients, which was in Slovak language. I think it did a pretty good job capturing the essence of these conversations and making it into distilled lessons that you can take away from that. I also hope that these real life stories will motivate you and inspire you to take action.
All right, so get ready because we're going deep into health, energy, performance today. We've got a whole bunch of client stories from this health coach, Daniel Weiss. And, these aren't just your typical I lost weight transformations.
Yeah, they're really more like journeys, not just about the end result. We're going to be looking at how changing your mindset even a little bit and making these small changes can lead to big results, especially as we age.
Okay, so let's break this down. I mean, the thing that really struck me is just how different all these clients are. I mean, we've got marathon runners, busy moms. We even got people in their 60s who are, still killing it. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing, right?
No, not at all. Like take Zuzana, for example. She's super active, already fit, but she lost weight by, counting calories and doing crazy intense exercise. But it kind of backfired.
Backfired how? I mean, she was hitting her goals, wasn't she?
Yeah, but she developed this, fear of food, almost like she was afraid to eat more because the scale might go up. And she had these intense cravings, especially at night.
Oh, wow. So classic restriction rebound. That's got to mess with your mind, right? Not just your diet.
Totally. And then we have Barbora. She's a 37-year-old mom. And she's been through that whole yo-yo dieting thing so many times. And she was just feeling completely discouraged.
Ugh, yeah. I know that feeling. Is there even a way out of this cycle?
Well, that's what she really wanted to find out, right? Because she knew all those extreme ways of doing things weren't working for her in the long run.
Okay, so we've got Zuzana fighting the fear of food. We've got Barbora looking for something she can actually stick with.
Yeah.
And then there's Martin, right, getting ready for this Spartan Ultra race. That's a whole other level.
Oh, yeah, total different challenge. He's definitely not new to fitness, but he felt totally wiped out after some of the races he'd done before. So he needed to figure out how to fuel his body for that kind of endurance.
So it's not just eating healthy, it's like eating strategically, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Katka. She's 40, a kindergarten teacher and a fitness instructor. You'd think she'd have tons of energy, but...
But something was holding her back.
Oh, yeah, big time. She had digestive issues, was super tired after workouts, took forever to recover. It was like her body was working against her.
Man, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
It really makes you realize how much we take for granted when things are working right.
Yeah.
So how did Daniel even start with something like that?
He had to dig deeper. It wasn't just about switching up her workouts or anything. It was about figuring out if she had any food intolerances, addressing those underlying health issues,
So sometimes what we think is like a willpower problem is really a physical thing.
Sometimes, yeah. And that's really where coaching comes in. You might think all this stuff is just for younger people, but we've got a client in her 60s. She proves that wrong.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. What was she dealing with?
Well, as we age, our body composition changes. And she was active, but she felt stuck in that whole gotta move a lot, eat a little trap. A lot of women fall into that.
Oh, man, I know that trap. It's like as you get older, you got to work twice as hard to see any result.
Exactly. But Daniel helped her challenge all those assumptions.
How? Tell me her secrets.
More protein, short strength training sessions. And you're not going to believe this, but she actually lost fat while eating more.
No way. Okay, we got to come back to that one. That's crazy. We've got 2 more clients to introduce, though, right?
We do. There's Mashal. He actually lost weight already, through calorie counting and stuff. But he wanted to get in better shape and find something he could, actually stick with. The problem was he was, way too focused on what his apps were telling him.
So he was looking for a way to get away from the numbers and really connect with what his body was telling him.
Exactly. He wanted to understand his own body better, learn how to listen to his hunger cues, figure out what foods gave his body the energy it needed. It was a total mindset shift.
Man, that's a huge mental block to get over. Like, you got to unlearn everything you thought you knew about dieting.
Right. And last but not least, we have Patrick. He's training for a Spartan Ultra too, like Martin. But he wanted to figure out how to eat right to perform his best. And he had some issues with carb loading and like digestive stuff in his last races.
Oh, man. I bet those ultra marathons are rough on your stomach. So how did Daniel approach this one?
Well, he put together a personalized carb loading plan, one that took into account Patrick's, digestive issues and stuff. That's where that whole personalized approach is super important.
Okay, so we've got 7 clients. They've all got different challenges, different goals. I'm hooked already. Where do we even start with all this?
Well, let's go back to Zuzana's story. Remember how she was struggling with that fear of food? What Daniel did to help her was actually pretty simple, but really powerful.
All right, let's dive in.
So Zuzana's story, it really shows you how you think about food, your mindset can totally mess things up, even when you think you're doing everything right.
Yeah, right. Like, she was active, she was in shape, but she was like living in fear of food. It's kind of crazy. So how did Daniel help her break free from that?
Well, he challenged her to do something that totally freaked her out. Go on vacation and don't count calories.
Whoa, seriously. That sounds kind of dangerous for someone who thinks like that.
Yeah, it seems like the opposite of what you should do. But that's the kind of the genius of it. By taking away that, control thing, the counting, she had to start paying attention to what her body was actually telling her.
So it was about switching from outside rules to what was going on inside.
Exactly. And guess what? She came back from vacation, didn't gain any weight. So she proved to herself that she could have fun and eat normally without losing control.
Wow, that's huge, right? It's like she had to unlearn everything she thought she knew about dieting and start trusting her body again.
It was a big moment for her. It totally busted that belief that she had to constantly restrict herself to stay in shape.
This kind of makes me think about Barbara and her struggle with that all or nothing thing. It's the same trap, isn't it? Thinking you got to be perfect or you failed.
Totally. So Daniel, he helped her focus on progress, not being perfect. Instead of trying to get 10,000 steps every single day, he told her to look at the whole week.
So it's more about the big picture, not getting caught up in, every little detail.
Exactly. And it worked. She started feeling confident that she could make changes that, she could actually stick with. She didn't feel like a failure if she had a bad day,
I think that's really important for people who are struggling with being consistent. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you in your life.
And that's what Daniel helped both Zuzana and Barbara find, a sense of freedom and, flexibility with food and exercise.
Okay, speaking of flexibility, let's talk about Martin, our Spartan Ultra athlete. He was already fit, but he needed to figure out how to fuel his body for that kind of crazy performance. Right?
Yeah. So Martin's case really shows how important it is to have, strategies that work for you. He was used to working out, but he'd never really thought about what he was eating to get through those long races.
And carb loading was a big deal for him.
Yeah. It was. Daniel introduced him to the whole idea of carb loading, helped him understand that eating the right stuff before, during, and after those intense workouts could make a huge difference.
So it's not just eating healthy. It's about eating smart. The timing and the nutrients really matter.
Exactly. And the result, Martin had more energy during the race. And get this, he even felt good enough to run afterwards, which blew his mind.
That's awesome. It shows that you can push yourself to the limit without, totally crashing.
Right. And it reminds us that, eating right is important for recovery too.
Okay, I'm really curious about Katka now. She was the kindergarten teacher and fitness instructor who was dealing with all that fatigue and the digestive issues.
Yeah, and her story, it really shows you that sometimes you got to deal with, the health problems you have, the things going on inside.
Because sometimes, it's not just about trying harder or being more disciplined.
Exactly. Daniel worked with Katka to make sure she was eating right, figure out if she had any food sensitivities, and really focus on recovery. He thought there might be something else going on besides, just a busy schedule.
It makes you wonder how many people are out there struggling with this kind of stuff without even knowing it,
Probably more than we realize. And it can really affect you. For Katka, dealing with these issues made a huge difference in her digestion, her energy, and how fast she recovered.
That's incredible. It's like she finally, found her groove.
Yeah, it was a complete transformation. And, it really emphasizes how important it is to look at your whole health picture. Sometimes you got to dig deeper than just the symptoms and get to the root of the problem.
So it's not just about willpower and motivation. It's about working with your body, not against it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, remember that 60-year-old client who was stuck in that move more, eat less mindset? Her story really shows that age doesn't have to hold you back.
I'm so ready to hear more about this. It's amazing to see someone in their 60s, proving those stereotypes wrong.
She was amazing. She totally bought into this idea that as you get older, you got to restrict yourself more and more to stay in shape.
Which is like so common, especially for women. It's all those messages about shrinking yourself as you get older.
Totally. But Daniel helped her get rid of that. He actually encouraged her to eat more, especially protein, and to do these short, focused strength training workouts.
And what happened?
Well, she had more energy, she slept better, and you're not going to believe this, but she lost fat while eating more.
Wait, hold on. I need a minute to process this.
Yeah.
She lost fat while eating more. This is blowing my mind.
It challenges everything you think you know about aging and weight, right? But it actually makes sense when you look at the science. As you get older, keeping your muscles becomes even more important for your overall health and metabolism.
So it's not about the number on the scale. It's about, how your body is made up and feeling good.
Exactly. And her story really shows that. Now, you might be wondering how she did all this while dealing with, the stress of life.
Right, because life doesn't just stop, when you're trying to improve your health. Actually, it feels like it throws more at you sometimes.
Well, she had a tough situation in her family, and unfortunately, she had to stop coaching for a while.
Oh, no. That's so frustrating when, stuff outside your control messes up your progress. But I guess it shows how important stress management and self-care are, right?
It does. It reminds us that even if you have all the knowledge and tools, life can throw you a curveball. It's about, being able to bounce back and having ways to deal with those tough times.
So it's not just what you do, it's how you handle the ups and downs.
Yeah.
This really shows how valuable it is to have a coach, to guide you through the rough patches.
Totally. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Michal's journey to, understanding himself better.
Oh, yeah. He was the one who was glued to his tracking apps and needed everyone to tell him he was doing good, right?
Yes. He wanted to break free from that and really learn what his body needed.
It's like he was asking permission from technology to eat and exercise instead of trusting his own gut, literally. You can see how that'll be exhausting and you can't keep doing that forever.
It was. And it was stopping him from actually enjoying the process. Daniel helped him switch his focus from, the numbers to what his body was telling him.
So instead of obsessing over calories and all that, he started paying attention to his hunger when he was full and how different foods made him feel.
Exactly. And this meant challenging some pretty deep-rooted beliefs about food, especially carbs.
Right. He wasn't too keen on increasing his carbs at first, was he?
He'd bought into that whole low-carb thing, thinking they were the enemy. But Daniel helped him see that carbs weren't bad. It was all about, context. What kind of carbs, when he ate them, and what his body needed.
So it's not about saying certain foods are evil. It's about finding what works for your body and how you live.
Exactly. And once Michal started, trying out more carbs, his energy went way up and he saw improvements in how he was performing.
It's amazing how much what we think about food can change how it actually affects us.
It really is. And for Michal, letting go of that fear of carbs was a big step towards, feeling good about eating again.
It's kind of like Zizana's vacation thing, right? Sometimes you got to challenge what you believe to see what's really possible.
Absolutely. And both Michal and Zizana's stories really show how important self-compassion is, especially when it comes to food. Daniel emphasized that it's okay to, indulge sometimes, to not be perfect,
Because, let's be real, we all mess up sometimes. Life happens. Parties happen. And sometimes you just got to have that cake.
Exactly. And instead of beating yourself up about it, Daniel encouraged his clients to see those moments as chances to learn and adjust. It's about progress, not perfection.
So it's not about trying to be some perfect person. It's about accepting that you're human.
And finding that balance that works for you. Remember Patrick, the other Spartan Ultra guy? Even he had a hard time with carb loading. He had to eat a crazy amount of carbs. 8 grams for every kilogram of body weight.
Whoa, that's a lot of carbs. Even for someone training for an ultra marathon, that's got to be tough.
It was. But it shows that even when you know what to do, you still got to like try things out and figure out what works best. What works for one person might not work for someone else. And even in our own bodies, things can change.
So it's not about finding that perfect plan and never straying from it. It's about being flexible and, listening to your body.
Exactly. And that means being aware of yourself in a way that goes beyond just following some rules.
This has been really eye-opening. It's amazing to see how Daniel helped his clients change so much, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring, right? And it really shows you how powerful personalized coaching can be. Because there's no one right way to be healthy and happy.
We've definitely seen that in these stories, whether it's getting over your fear of food, finding habits you can stick with, performing your best, or, just feeling good about eating again. It's about finding what works for you.
And I think the most important thing is that feeling of empowerment. These clients, they didn't just reach their goals, they changed how they felt about food in their bodies. They learned to trust themselves.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's not about trying to be like someone else. It's about finding your own way and creating a lifestyle that feels right for you.
Well said. And for anyone who's interested in how Daniel does things and want to learn more, you can actually schedule a free strategy call with him.
Yeah, this is your chance to talk to Daniel directly and see if his style of coaching is right for you. We'll put all the details in the show notes.
Because in the end, it's all about finding the support that helps you live your best, healthiest life.
And that's what this whole deep dive has been about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep trying new things, and keep trusting yourself.
Yeah.